he Welcome back, WNST. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Ravens trip to the Confluence this week. I thought it'd be a good time to get this guy on. He has been a recurring guest here over the course of time. He's a longtime friend of mine here locally and a very decorated guy in the area of local business and crisis leadership. He has penned a book along with my pal Kevin Cowherd, my former longtime colleague at the Evening Sun. The book is The Art of Crisis Leadership, Save Time, Money, Customers, and Ultimately Your Career. Rob Weinhold from the Falston Group joins us here once again to, I like having guys like you on because, as much as I stay up late at night thinking, I wonder what Roger Goodell's going to do about all these empty seats and the knee and the goofy president we have and when the next tweet is coming out. And then on Monday night, we see a guy laid out on a stretcher, right? And that's unavoidable, I think, from an NFL standpoint, given the violence. But boy, oh boy, Rob, I would think a guy like you who loves the NFL, who loves sports, you watch this NFL situation as sort of a leader in your field and think, boy, they need about 100 guys like me to figure out how to fix this because I don't know that there's any magic wand that anyone's going to wave over Goodell, the NFL, any of these individual franchises, the CTE thing. And obviously the empty seats here concern me. So we got a lot of things on the plate. Welcome in. It's always good to have you on, and I think I've set the menu for you there, Rob.
Hey, I appreciate it. It's my pleasure to be here. And actually, on with Dundalk Strong, man. You're wearing the jacket. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, there's only a few guys that have the official Dundalk High School Athletic Hall of Fame Owls shirt. So when you got it, wear it. It doesn't even fit. It's a little big, but I'll get it in a medium next time. But I wasn't going to complain. They put me in the Hall of Fame. You got to say,
No, that's pretty cool. But you brought up the NFL and, really a very, very interesting dynamic and case study. We could talk about the players kneeling and start back in London with some of the Ravens players kneeling and then standing for God Save the Queen, concussions, the battle against HDTV and being 20 paces away from your refrigerator versus, having to stand in line at concessions. And then you kind of bundle that in with a mediocre season and whether or not the Ravens are really going to make a run here. And I think we'll find out this coming week and a few weeks to follow. So a lot stacked against getting those fans in seats. And what I know about professional sports is there's just a couple of revenue streams: ticket sales, concessions, sponsorships, food and beverage, and frankly, special events. And so if you look at those 5 revenue streams, they're battling uphill right now. Even though you have the season tickets sold, a lot of that bank depends on those other elements that I mentioned, particularly food and beverage, merchandise, and then ultimately sponsorships. And, who knows what's going to happen.
Well, I think it's complex, right? And to your point, books will be written about this and case studies will be made about this because rarely has there been a company that's had this sort of 1961, if you took a needle and drew from 1961 to 2017, the needle would look unlike any other business. And Apple didn't exist then, right? Microsoft and, those kinds of businesses. But for the NFL, it began as local pride in the 50s in places like here and Green Bay and Chicago around football clubs. And now it is this thing that are billions of dollars. And the guys who want to sell their teams now, Rob, as you know, they can't find anyone to buy them because there aren't enough people rich enough who want to be involved in this circus at this point. And I think with all the problems they have right now, which is how big can that bubble get, how much can they grow that revenue stream, how many more new stadia can they build, how many more new Londons can they tap into, and how much more can they charge you to sit in the upper deck for something that you can enjoy from at home, and people are enjoying that process more and on their mobile phone and football wherever you are, like Peyton Manning used to sing, right? They've got what I would call something that I've had here at WNST over 20 years, which is, I bought an AM radio station 20 years ago. I'm not really an AM radio station anymore. It's part of what I do, but many, many people will interact with this video and my voice on anything but AM radio, or are looking at me right now on Facebook Live. The NFL has new challenges here and crises that they've never dealt with before. And honestly, I think a lot of it stems from the collective bargaining and the situation where Goodell wanted to be the judge and jury, right? So be careful what you wish for, because He was never a judge, although his family came from a political background and stuff, and he had a legal background. But all he really knew was league business, and now he's trying to mete out penalties on things like the Vontaze Burfict thing the other night. Obviously that body bag Bengals-Steelers game is its own case study for us in the coming weeks as to we can't have that. Every NFL game can't be that. If it is, they're going to be out of business, and kids, parents are telling their kids not to play the game. But they have so many problems, but I think a lot of it really does stem from the power source at the commissioner's office, where they've sort of overstepped what they should be looking at this point.
Well, it's interesting you say that because you use the term bubble, and I think that's just what you have, an economic bubble, whether you're looking about television revenues all the way down to ticket sales and so on and so forth. At a certain point, that is going to outrun the consumer's ability to attend and be part of the fan experience on game days. And so when video's changed the world. I mean, it's changed policing, it's changed sports consumption, it's changed everything. And so you have to adapt. You talk about buying an AM radio station. You've had to adapt with the way that you deliver content versus how you did it, just 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, maybe even 20 minutes ago, because it seems like every day there's a new app on the market. But it's kind of funny because you talk about the NFL and you talk about crisis. I think the only company that's done a really good job of keeping up with the NFL these days is United Airlines, right? Every week they couldn't seem to get out of their own way. And it's kind of another interesting case study to take a look at. But if you look at I always talk about the 4 motivators on why people do bad things. And it comes down to money, power, sex, and revenge. And you look at those 4 core motivators and why crazy things happen in this world, whether you talk about Matt Lauer or people that are driven by money every day, those are generally the 4 core motivators. And if you have, the NFL, which obviously, is an entertainment property, and they want to make sure they put a good product on the field, they're in a unique juxtaposition because they're trying to make the game safer for athletes. But the truth of the matter is, if you talk about the Bengals and the Steelers, probably more people are talking about that this week because of the heavy hits and almost a gladiator approach to the game than if it was just another routine, boring game, which most people think on a day-by-day basis.
I always think that about MMA. No one wants to see an MMA fight where nobody bleeds, and they really want somebody to die. They don't think they do, but they're waiting for that night when one of these guys dies in that octagon in there. And you'd say, well, how did they die? Well, they beat the hell out of each other. I mean, at some point, somebody's going to die. It's like watching NASCAR for a crash. I mean, if there's no crash, was there really a race, right?
Well, more clicks, more views. I mean, I guarantee if you go back and you take a look at the hit on Burfict, you take a look at Shazir's hit, and you take a look at all those different elements of the game, and you isolate those video clips, I guarantee you there's more views, more shares, and more interest in that game because of the sheer violence of the game. So you have a consumer who wants to see big hits, and you go to Ravens games, I go to Ravens games, when there's a big hit, everybody cheers, everybody yells, it's replayed, and everybody wants to see it. But the NFL, understandably so, wants to make the game safer because you need longevity in athletes. So to me, there's a little juxtaposition here in that there's somewhat of an inherent conflict on what the property ought to be on the field for the safety of everyone and really deep down what the consumer wants to see.
I talked to Marty Conway, my dear friend, about that this week and the Flacco hit, right? So the Ravens in this offseason, their big pitch was what in the offseason? We have new video boards, right? Mm-hmm. Come see the new board. And they are, I mean, they're incredible TVs, I mean, same ones I've seen in Beijing, the same ones I've seen in Vegas, the same ones I've seen at Jerry's World. Minnesota has big TVs now in their stadium. So, Dick Cass was, and the organization, this is where we're going to put our money. And obviously they want to sell ads. They want to put fantasy scores up. They want to engage people. They want to have the kiss cam, and they want to have the guy who takes off his shirt and runs around and freezes in a real fan Dan and all that stuff. But, for the fan who's paying $85 like I am in my PSL, when Joe Flacco gets his head taken off by Kiko Alonso, I'm waiting to see the replay of that never comes. So all of a sudden, I'm now in the stadium with the worst view in America of the play that just happened, and I paid the most to see it. There's really an incongruency there, and I'm not saying they should replay the thing 5 times of Joe getting his head taken off and his ear half sliced off, but I am saying that at home, everybody was into that, and I'm up in the upper deck trying to get a video on my phone on Twitter in some sort of real time when they've spent a phone number on those video boards, and I've spent a phone number on my season tickets. It doesn't add up, and that experience of being in the stadium, and let's take this down to, I guess the small level here. Rob, you've been going to Ravens games for 20 years like I have. You're a local guy, and I am aghast at the empty seats here the last 4 games. What became an incredible home field advantage and a source of local pride, and every series was a chance to get a left tackle to jump. Every series was an attempt to intimidate the quarterback. When the defense would come out, everybody on the other team's offense was intimidated. That's all gone now. And the weird part is, you know how hard it is to sell a ticket? Well, the Ravens have done that. Those tickets are all sold. And there aren't people in the seats. And I don't know how the Ravens are going to deal with this. And you and I, I'm sure, will be talking about this all offseason, if not at cocktail parties with people. And I know in your book, The Art of Crisis Leadership, you talked a little bit about Ray Rice and Kevin Byrne but this is beyond Kevin Byrne's purview. This is Roger Goodell's problem, because Baltimore's not the only place this is going on.
Well, think of it this way. It goes back to when the kneeling started to occur, I think back in September in London. And the NFL has a big, big challenge. I think fans were willing to pay because they were part of the game day experience. And then that experience really went on Monday, Tuesday, and now you'd have Thursday night games, right? You're watching football many nights of the week, and you're talking about it 7 days a week. But I think the consumer base has voted with their feet. And what that means is they've decided not to go or walk away from the stadium on game day because they don't feel a sense of connectivity to the athletes like they used to feel. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying a large percentage of people feel that way. Some still go to the games, okay, no doubt about it, and it's still a wonderful experience. I think the Ravens are awesome. I think the organization's done a great, great job. But the truth of the matter is, when Suggs sacks somebody and jumps up and hops on one foot and twirls around and celebrates that sack, I know a lot of people are saying, you know what, I just can't jump up and down anymore. I really have this feeling of, why is it that you've become political on the field? If you want to be political off the field, if you want to express your views, no problem at all. Everybody has that right. That's what America's about. But I think when you go ahead and you protest in these outward ways, which, is their right to do, I think the NFL has a major, major problem because they want to protect the rights of and the interest of, and certainly, the motivation of the athletes, because that's their product. But now you have consumers on the back end who are saying, listen, I don't agree with it. And regardless of why you think there's a protest, whether it's policing, whether it's military, whether you think it's a kneel against the American flag, whatever the case is, everybody has their own little slant on why this is going on. But it doesn't change the fact that people are deciding not to go to the stadium, that they'd not only protest watching football, but those who have come back and started to begin to watch the game again, they'd rather watch it from the comfort of their own home than make that trip, spend a whole day, parking, partying, going to the game, dragging in on Monday. The whole 9 yards. They were willing to do that before. But I think that this is really, it's been a fuse that has remained lit, for the balance of the season. I think it's going to take a couple seasons to regain that connectivity and show that relationship can be repaired by those fans. When I say those fans, I mean all the fans that poured in, the 60 to 70,000 fans that would pour into a stadium each and every week across the country.
Well, I'm a PSL owner, and they owe me nothing other than good football. And I've heard all the excuses, right? So I've been keeping a list because at some point I'm going to write about this. And is this the demise of local sports here as we know it? When the Orioles have been for 25 years chasing fans away. It's been very well documented through my experience here at WNST, how I've been treated, how the fans have been treated, how local. I've written a book on Peter Angelos, and his era will be coming to a close at some point. But I didn't see this Ravens thing coming, not off the knee, not off the price, but part of the PSL, and I always called it the poor sucker's license publicly back in the 1990s when I bought a couple myself, was that you're locked into this thing, right? You're sort of committed that when that season ticket renewal book comes in March, you give the credit card number or pay a portion of it now and a portion later after summer vacation or whatever it is.
Can I say something on that point real quick?
Sure.
Look, people are out there trying to sell their tickets, and we're talking about, I kind of call it a course correction in the industry, right? I don't think the industry is going to die, of course. I don't I think that's still longevic, but I do think they're going through a course correction, and it gets back to that bubble that you've talked about. And so I think when the economies come back in line, but most importantly, you got to remember, people who go to those games are motivated by what? They're motivated by the heart. It's something they want to do with their discretionary money and their discretionary time. And if they firmly believe that they're the 12th man and everybody's all in and the players represent their values and vice versa, and they go and they watch a great football game, that's awesome. But people right now can't get 20% on face across the country for their tickets. And it used to be a Ravens-Steelers game. You could go ahead and, you could get any amount you wanted almost, right? If it was a big Steelers-Ravens matchup and, the division depended on it. So I just want to say, when you talk about the PSLs, the people that have PSLs, they're being hit in the pocketbook because they can't sell those PSLs for the value that they could once get, probably even last year. Same thing with individual tickets. And so all of that creates a degree of resentment among the loyal fans that have been loyal for a couple of decades here. And again, this is just what I hear. When I go around town and somebody brings up the Ravens, whether I'm in a restaurant or...
Who doesn't bring up the Ravens when you're in a... I mean, literally.
Exactly.
For all of this nonsense about I'm not using my tickets, I'm not going, I'm not watching, dilly-dilly on Sunday or whatever it is, right? They're going to make the playoffs. And the first week of January, I would think if the game's on BAL, Fox, wherever it is, they'll still be getting top dollar and the ratings will be through the roof. Now, are we hanging purple lights in the city right now the way we did back in 2001 the first time and the first Festivus and all that? No, but, they're not going to play a home playoff game, right? So we know that much. And so nobody's going to have to reach into their pocket for that. There are 2 games left here at the end of the month. But, Rob, the season ticket renewal is going to come in March. And all of those 15,000 people that have been completely empty seats, I'm talking about tickets in their desk, burning, never got used. And, I would think at the end of the year, there's 100,000 of those, right? There were 30,000 one night, 15. Yeah, in the end of the year, it's going to be 100,000 wasted pieces of paper. And then that renewal is going to come. And then the question's going to be, am I all in on 2,400 more this year, 35, whatever the number is? My number is, $1,700 is what my renewals are. So, am I a yes or no? I'm a yes. I'm a Ravens guy. It's what I do. It's what I love. And I'm in. I'm all in. But I don't know about those 15,000 people that ate those tickets, Rob.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent point. I'm with you. I have PSLs, and I'm going to be in. There's no doubt about it. I hope the Ravens do well. I hope they win the Super Bowl. But here's what I see among, an unofficial, not a statistically significant sample by any means. But as I walk through life, I've noticed people who, 100% back when the team was in London went absolutely catastrophic. I'll never watch an NFL game again, and so on and so forth. Well, things have settled down a little bit, and now I hear people saying, well, I'm going to give the NFL another chance. I'm not going to the game, but I'm going to watch it on TV, right? So now they've taken a step closer, so they're going to watch it on TV. Hopefully, with a little bit of time and distance, which in many crises that's the case, you need some time and distance to get away from it. The fan will come around, and the NFL will do a much better job of establishing almost a connectivity strategy, right, where they can bring the fan and the players closer and the fans and the coaches closer. I would love to see, a relationship like the old Baltimore Colts had where, you pull up in a gas station and there's Johnny U pumping his own gas, right? There was some accessibility.
People run into Flacco everywhere, man. I see pictures of Flacco with a kid on each arm in the Wegmans in Hunt Valley.
No doubt.
Literally.
No, he's definitely in the community, no doubt about it. But my point is...
Which makes him my favorite all-time guy, by the way. He's the best.
He's Joe Cool, right?
He's the
best.
He's a
great ambassador for the game. But at the end of the day, the fans and the athletes need to come closer together, and I think you can do that over time. And so hopefully, all's right in Whoville within the next, year or two, and everybody's back up and running, and again, maybe with a course correction on the economic side.
All right, his book is The Art of Crisis Leadership. The voice you're hearing is familiar. He appears on various media around here. There's Rob Weinhold. The book was written with Kevin Cowherd. I'm not really here to promote the book other than it is one of the 4 books legitimately on my nightstand right now. Save time, money, customers, and ultimately career. So if you have a crisis issue or want to read up on crisis, he is at the Fall Falston Group, and you can find Rob Weinhold just about everywhere. He's my Facebook friend. He's on LinkedIn. They're out on Twitter at Falston Group, and of course, you can buy the book. Makes a great holiday gift if you like some good reading, and there's even a case study in here regarding Ray Rice. I want to take this thing to the next level on this, because you did say, and I take notes when I talk to you. I love talking to you, Weinhold. Time and distance can serve from any crisis. Now, obviously everybody knows Kenny Albert was my first partner in crime here. He put me on the radio here back in 1991. Coming up December 13th, 1991 was is my anniversary date. So mark that on the calendar. So it'll be 26 years at some point this week. So his dad clearly had this incredible sex scandal, right? And the question was, would he ever work again? Well, he's 15 years back into working and calling NBA finals. And I don't want to say all's forgiven and forgotten and whatever, but boy, this, Weinstein's going to be in prison. Let's start with that. I'm wondering if Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, if any of these people, that probably is the recipe. Time and distance from any tragedy, from any breakup, from any anything bad that happens. It will soften things, but and I would think the same thing's true for the NFL. But I am wondering, in this modern era, how forgiving a public we're always known as the forgiving people, the second chance culture and all that stuff. I don't know that that's the case under our current leadership right now, and where we are psychologically about drawing the line of, I'm never going to that side. I'll open my mind to anything except that point of view, right?
Well, let's put it this way. Tiger, Toyota, Martha Stewart, Goldman Sachs, Penn State, BP, Ray Rice, Lance Armstrong. I could go on and on and on and just talk about the past 30 days, right? So the bottom line is, I do think America is a very forgiving society, as long as they believe someone is truly remorseful and they won't make the mistake again. Now, where it comes down, the problem is this. If you do something so egregious, right, like hurt vulnerable people, or so egregious that by any moral compass it's wrong, well, then I'm not sure time and distance is ultimately going to help you. But
well, we'll find out if picking up 14-year-old girls at the mall when you're the DA is, we're going to find out at least one state's opinion on that soon enough, right?
Oh,
as
no
to where
doubt.
right or wrong is. I mean, we view that every day with every tweet every morning about where your morality and where your line is. I mean, we've had the notion of what is true and what is accurate and what has been seen on video and heard on video now being questioned by the person who leads our society. So I think it's all up for grabs at this point, Rob, in a way that it's never been before.
Well, I agree with you, but I think this. I mean, I think on the side of the moral scale where it's not recoverable, if you hurt kids or you are predatory with vulnerable adults, then I think that, it reaches to the point where, at least in most people's view, it's on the side of the equation where it's not recoverable. But I also think that there's a lot of people that do things, and I go back to those core motivators, right? Power, money, sex, and revenge. And sometimes you can tie a couple of those together, and it makes for a fairly dangerous person when they're motivated by those interests. And I mean at their core, solely motivated by those interests. But I do think of the cases that I ticked off. If you look at the Matt Lauers and you look at others, it is just unconscionable how some of these people abuse power during their lifetime. But I do think that time and distance, and when the stories come out and there's full disclosure and transparency, and you get a couple of years downstream and it's a look back, I think most people are going to take a look and say, you know what, that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. But if there's some good that can come from it, and a greater sense of awareness and more transparency in and around the abuse of women and the abuse of power, then that's a good thing for our society when we can get to a place where there's much more equality than there's ever been.
How's the book selling, Rob? Tell everybody what you do at the Falston Group, because I promote you as a crisis leadership guy in your book and all that, but people call you for all sorts of stuff, man.
We do. We always talk about building, strengthening, and defending reputations each and every day, and we do that through three core service verticals, strategic marketing and public relations. And so we always joke around and say, we know how to get you in the news, we know how to get you out of the news, and We develop marketing strategies for folks, and we help them activate it. And then we have a crisis and issue leadership vertical where we work with companies, large public companies, all the way down to small restaurateurs on everything from data breach, bad press, social media attack, investigations, litigation, human resource issues, stakeholder relations issues.
I've had all of that. I mean, you've just read my resume.
Yeah, right. So we do all of that, and we always believe that you can take short-term adversity and turn it into long-term advantage with the right approach and the right strategy moving forward. And then the third thing we have is a safety and security vertical, and so we'll get into assessments and policy development and training, and right now what's making that vertical pop is a lot of the active shooter scenarios and organizations really wanting to make sure that they are prepared in creating what we call organizational muscle memory should something happen. You know, we know the first order of leadership is to provide a safe place to live, work, and raise a family, and many corporate executives are taking that very, very seriously and utilizing our services to make sure that they're prepared in the event that the unthinkable happens.
Hey, man, I'll send everybody out to find you. Tell them where to find you, Falston Group, and, of course, you're out on Twitter as well. Give a phone number or give a contact, an email, someplace where people can reach directly to you if they need your services or your wisdom, as I like to call it.
Yeah, no, if they want to chat or want to learn a little bit more, I'm very simple, rob@falstongroup.com, but our website is falstongroup.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and then certainly our Twitter handle, @Falston Group. So we've got an awesome team. I'm pretty proud of them, and we work hard, and we always say that we love helping people during life's most critical times. And when you have some highly motivated people who are very, very competent, it's fun to come to work each and every day.
Rob Weinhold was also the 2017 most admired CEO by the Daily Record, but that's like being the world's sexiest man. You just don't come in the room and brag about that, right?
That's funny you say that. You know, that was actually very unexpected. It was quite an honor. Some people that work with me got together along with some. We support a number of nonprofits in town, and so it was very humbling. I was a little bit nervous on that day, but I'm pretty humbled by, I think, the recognition. I didn't know you were going to bring that up, or I would have hung up about 3 or 4 minutes
Right,
ago.
Exactly. It's like when you brought up my Dundalk Hall of Fame, except I'm wearing it on my shirt at this point. So I guess I am that guy, but I don't walk into every room now and say, Hall of Famer, most admired CEO.
Thank you. I thought of you yesterday, though. I was trying to decide between Squires and Jimmy Seafood, but I went right at Halliburton. I jumped into Jimmy Seafood for lunch, so... But I thought of you when I drove by Squires.
Yeah, well, I wish they thought of me. So, we'll leave it at that. Hey, great to have you on, man. As always, always a pleasure. And we'll hope to talk to you again soon. Good luck with the book. I hope people buy it for the holidays. The Art of Crisis Leadership. Save time, money, customers, and ultimately your career. Rob Weinhold and Kevin Cowherd. And I'll get Cowherd on here sometime soon to talk about what's going on in his world, too, because he's always writing a book about something. Hey, great to have you on, Rob. Appreciate you.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for your time today.
You got it. Falston Group's the way to find him out on Twitter, as well as Rob Weinhold. That's Weinhold. It's out on our Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. This portion of our WNST programming brought to you by our friends at Compass Point Golf Course down in Pasadena. It is the best place to play this fall and this winter. Had a lot of decent days to play golf, if that's your thing. Compass Point Golf down in Pasadena and out on the web at compasspointgolf.com. Also by our friends at D&L Window Tinting, 26 years, same as me, of tinting everything. I've been doing sports radio for 26 years. Cars, boats, businesses, they put the shades on the sun. It gets a little squinty this time of year, especially behind the wheel of your large automobile when there's a snow and that glare going on. Take that away. Parkville and White Marsh, it's DNL Window Tinting. Anything you miss here during Pittsburgh week, you can find in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Last but never least, breaking news happens first on our WNST tech service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis is here from 3 until 5 each and every Thursday, driving you home. It is the SSV on WNST. He'll get you ready for the Ravens game this weekend. I am a very available individual. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.